Good afternoon, my movie-loving brothers and sisters. How are you guys doing? Thank you for joining us on this. What is it, Tuesday now? I feel all... Is it Monday? I feel so out of whack with everything, with holidays and Black Friday. I feel like that was a holiday all on its own for me. But yeah, Monday afternoon, thank you for joining us on the Screen Talk Live YouTube channel, where we talk about all things movie news, and other screen-related stuff. I am, of course, your humble host, Keith Toothman. I am joined today by my friend, colleague, and co-host, Shane Wallace. Shane, how you doing this morning, buddy?
Hey, doing great. Glad to be here.
Yeah, for sure. And we're glad to be here with you guys, too. Guys, just some off-the-top stuff. We do have a Xbox Series S that we're giving away here on the channel. There's a video up for that, so make sure you go check it out. But to give you a little rundown, if you give or send a super chat during today's live show or during any live show, it enters you in the running to win that Xbox Series S. So make sure you're sending in those super chats for your chance to win that. Also, make sure you guys are hitting that like button and the thumbs up and the subscribe button and that notification bell, so you can have your movie news when you need it, where you need it. And if you're new around here, the way we like to do things is we like to go over a few main topics, and then when we're done with those main topics, we like to take any comments, questions, chats, things that you guys leave down in the comment section below. So make sure you guys are asking questions, being active in the chat, and then make sure you're sticking around to the end to see any of those questions or comments get answered. With that being said, we are going to jump right into our first main topic today. And our first main topic today is this. This is kind of breaking news-ish, since it just kind of came about. But Sony has now picked up Legendary Pictures, and we have an article pulled up over here. I want to pull up from the Hollywood Reporter, and I want to read a little bit of this. Legendary Entertainment, Hollywood's high-profile producer and co-financer of big-budget studio fare, has found a new partner in Sony Pictures. And, of course, Legendary, me and Shane were just talking a little bit. Legendary does, King Kong, Godzilla, a whole bunch of that big CG fanfare kind of stuff. Under the terms of the deal, Legendary's movies will be distributed and marketed globally by Sony, excluding China, where Legendary East will handle all those duties. Sony will also handle home entertainment and TV distribution for those films. Sony does not have a streaming service, and Legendary will continue to partner with other companies for streaming as it has with Netflix and Enola Home. So we could end up seeing some of this stuff on HBO Max. Wouldn't that be hilarious? But this is very interesting news because, again, we know there was the whole debacle where Warner Brothers decided to put all their stuff onto streaming while simultaneously putting it in the theaters. Legendary sued them, told them they would sue them, told them not to do it. Warner Brothers said we're doing it anyway. They sued. Obviously, as most of these things do, it was settled, for an undisclosed amount, of course. But yeah, I imagine Legendary was paid a ton of money, probably more than if they would have just, did what they promised to do when they signed the contracts with Legendary and just put them in theaters alone. But yeah, so we kind of knew that this was going on a little bit, and we knew that they had issues with Warner Brothers, just like we seen with Christopher Nolan, right? Same kind of issues, and he left and he went to Universal. But these guys are deciding to team up with Sony, which is really interesting to me. And I also, it does, interest me as well to think that Sony doesn't have a streaming app still. It's pretty crazy. Sony does have a lot of content, I think. They also own I can't remember what it's called right now, but one of those like Tubi or Crackle. It's Crackle. Sony owns Crackle, and they quite often will put their movies like Ghost Rider, their old, stuff like that, up on there for free. Crackle is a free streaming service. But yeah, so maybe they would turn that into a Sony service or something, especially with a new deal like this with Legendary in the making, right? Because now you have even more content that you could bring into your Sony streaming app. And it seems like that's the thing to do right now. now. To be honest with you, I'm completely glad that they're not doing a streaming app and there is no Sony streaming app, because the last thing I need is another $4 or $5 or $10.99 a month bill for one of these things. But yeah, this is exciting for Sony. We know that they're also doing their PlayStation Studio and stuff. So they're making some moves in this industry. And as we often talk about with these other businesses like Sony and Amazon and Apple, and, movies isn't what their, main income is and their source of money. So they're not really worried about kind of throwing money at this sometimes. So this is interesting, and I'm glad to hear it for Sony. Shane, you're hearing this. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think this is actually a match made in heaven. I think they're both similar, where they make crap, and every once in a while they'll pull out a decent film. So, this is a big score for Sony because Legendary is actually, besides, the big CG monster movies they like to put out, they do really like to give really good directors shots too. Not only you mentioned Nolan, but Spike Lee. I love Danny Boyle, Michael Mann, Guillermo del Toro. These are all big hitters, and they've done films with them in the past. So not only do they bring in their big budgeted amusement park ride movies, but they also bring in some of the more serious and down to earth stuff too. So sounds great for Sony. Sounds like it was a big loss to Warner. I'd like to see how this is handled, because you're right. I mean, Warner could be laughing because all that stuff's going to come to HBO Max once it's finally in streaming. So we'll see how it plays out. Right.
Pardon the pun, but if you remember what their logo looks like, it's kind of legendary.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's
the Celtic kind of.
Yeah. You kind of. It's just as much as you would remember any of the big names, you kind of, when you see it, you kind of know what to expect a little bit too. Yeah. So I think it brings a lot of cachet into it. What do you think the odds are this increases the chance that Sony gets a streaming service? Before I let you take that, during CinemaCon, which is for all the theater owners to kind of get to show you, for the people making the movies, the studios get to show the theater owners, hey, this is what we're going to be giving you guys this year to put in your movies. Sony was very adamant that they were not interested in getting involved in any streaming shit at all, and that if they had stuff that was really popular like Spider-Man, they would license it out like they always have. But what do you think? Do you think?
I could see them sticking with that for a while. I mean, like, Sony's such a big company, they don't need to make money off these movies. So, there's less of a demand on their end to make a streaming service, because now you got to talk about server space and, updates and running some sort of site. And
a bunch of people you're hiring.
Yeah, no kidding. So
millions of dollars.
They could probably balance it out by licensing this material to the other streaming services. They probably have smarter than people than we do that have a chart that shows this is how much money you'd make if you started your streaming service in 5 years, because you're probably going to take some hits just to get it going.
Right.
Versus how much money you're going to bring in just 5 years of licensing.
Right.
And they probably take a look at this, and it's either the same or not worth it.
Right. Or tanking, losing a bunch of money. And it would be different too if, this was 5 or 6 years ago or something like that, right? Because then Disney Plus wasn't here yet, and HBO Max wasn't here yet.
I think if they were going to do it, I think the big kind of boom was right around the pandemic. That's like right when Paramount Plus, they were really pushing it.
I think if I'm Sony, I partner with one of those guys and say, hey, let's have a Sony-like category on Netflix, and we'll let you guys have all our stuff if you put it all up there.
I'm sure they'll consider that. I bet there's a bidding process.
Oh, yeah, that's the problem is that everything's worth something different. So they're like, no, we're not. We want to bid out every last one of these things we have.
And who knows what kind of legal, if it's even worth it, because they might have signed. Because I think it's Peacock that has Ghostbusters, which is Sony. So who knows how long Peacock signed that for? It could be a year, it could be a couple months, it could be 5 years. And so they're over here. It's like, if we start an app, we won't have
sometimes
Ghostbusters.
they don't sign exclusive rights deals either. So you could see it on Netflix and which is always kind of a bummer for a streaming service, because you're expecting or you're wanting people to come to your thing, but if it's on 3 things for free, then it makes it hard. But But yeah, interesting news. Like I said, I'm super excited for Sony and Legendary Pictures to be able to get out from under Warner Brothers and get somewhere, clearly at least where they found a deal that they're excited about. And yeah, we'll see how all this bodes moving forward with Sony and Legendary Pictures. But yeah, let me know down in the comment section what your guys' thoughts are on this, about them buying it, about them leaving WB. Doesn't matter to you. Maybe it matters none. But definitely let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. All right. With that down, we're going to move into our second main topic today. And our second main topic today is this. So we talked on the show. In fact, it's been a while. It's been a couple months back when we first started the show. But we talked a lot about the Bros movie with Billy Eichner and yeah, and it didn't do quite as well as they wanted it to do. And we always predicted that this would be on streaming pretty soon, and we were right. And this article is coming to us from Deadline. It looks like the Bros rom-com is going to be coming December 2nd to Peacock. Peacock has won the bidding war for Bros, which is kind of fitting, right? Because I mean the Peacock logo has like the rainbow tail, right? Anyways, let's read a little bit of this article. Peacock has announced that the groundbreaking romantic comedy Bros, the first from a major studio to center on two gay men, will begin streaming exclusively on the platform December 2nd. And again, you know, we've talked about this a lot on the channel, so there's videos up if you guys want to hear our thoughts on it. We haven't seen this movie yet, but we did also say that when and if this movie came available, that we would probably check it out immediately. And I think my feelings on that personally have not changed very much. I think that December 2nd probably isn't a time I'm not going to run out to see this on December 2nd. But again, it's Christmas. There's a lot of downtime. So I see myself at some point finally putting this on and checking it out. And yeah, I mean, it's a romantic comedy. I could give two damns whether it was around gay people or straight people or aliens, for all I give a damn. So that won't affect the way I view or see the movie or whether I want to or not. I'm not a huge romantic comedy fan, but I've seen some good ones that I really like that make me want to love those kind of movies, but just not the biggest rom-com guy. But Shane, I know you're a huge rom-com guy. Tell me what you think. What's your thoughts on Bros coming to Peacock?
Yeah,
December
you know,
2nd?
we knew it was inevitable. I didn't know it was going to be so soon. I mean,
Right.
it came up quicker than I thought. Honestly,
Yeah.
like you said, I'm not really in the mood right now because it is Christmassy. But, you know, I will see it.
Yep.
Honestly, just because the biggest reason is I do like Nicholas Stoller, who's the writer, director, producer of this film.
Wow.
You know, he did like The Neighbors. I know you're a big fan
Love
of that
Neighbors.
one. I love Yes Man, Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
That is, some of those are the best rom-coms.
No
That's what I was
kidding.
talking about.
Right, this guy's
That's
the
what I
king
said.
of
I'm not a
rom-coms.
rom-com fan, but every once in a while I see you just named them all.
So honestly, this should have been how they marketed it, because here's, you know, if anyone cares about the whole gay crap, here's a man who's married to a woman. Does that make you feel better about seeing this movie? It was made by a straight man.
Right.
So go see it. And honestly, as this guy who you could
Good
say...
point. Great point.
Right? And
Yeah.
I mean, you could say he's a king of rom-coms, right? Of
No
modern
doubt.
rom-coms.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, doesn't it make sense that he'd be like, well, what's an area I haven't tackled yet? You know, homosexual men. That there's not,
But
you know,
rom-com
that's-
still.
But rom-com, which is my wheelhouse.
This is kind of brilliant,
And, you know,
honestly.
and honestly, when it comes to, you know, I don't want to stereotype gay men. Just the gay men that I know personally. So not all gay men, I don't know if they're like this, but the gay men that I know, which is quite a few, a good dozen or so, they love rom-coms.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
So, you know, this is
Come on.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
they probably have all seen it, and they're just like, yeah, I can't wait for you to see it because it's going to be fun. So, you know, it seems like a fun movie. December 2nd, you know, maybe... You know, I wish this all would have came out a month earlier.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Theatrical
No.
came out September. This came out
or
November.
even a month later, January
Or a month
2nd.
later,
This feels
yeah.
like a good January movie, maybe.
So we'll definitely have to watch it at some point. So
but
we can
I'll
talk
get
about
around
it
to
here.
it. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah,
And
let
when
me
we
know
do,
so I'll watch it then.
yeah, when we do, we'll put it up on. We'll put our thoughts and reviews up on the channel. But guys, what are your guys' thoughts on this? I know that any of you guys that wanted to see Bros probably has seen it. But those of you that haven't, are you wanting to check this out on Peacock? Do you have Peacock? I recently got Peacock for $1.99 a month for like a year or so. So I'll be having it as long as it's that cheap. But yeah, guys, let me know what your thoughts are on all this down in the comment section below. All right, with that down, we're going to move into our third main topic today. And our third main topic today is this. So I know that me and you, Shane, both probably aren't the most traversed in all things Tyler Perry. But I do love Tyler Perry. And there's some things that I do love Tyler Perry. I'm not the biggest Madea person, but there was some of that stuff. Like, I was also, like, in the teenage range when all that stuff started to happen. So I did get to see some of the better ones, and when it wasn't kind of so played out and there wasn't 40 of them. So there was a time when I did love those Madea movies. I really did. And I enjoyed his other movies, like the more dramatic ones, like kind of like I Can Do Bad All by Myself and stuff like that. I love his casts, which are always, predominantly black actors that do not get the appreciation that they deserve or need. Like Michael Ealy and all the, there's just so many, right? He always brings that same formula when he directs, and a lot of people love these movies. I mean, he has his own movie studio now, right? The Tyler Perry whatever Productions or whatever, and yeah, he's been kind of going down this route of being a director, writer, producer. And with that being said, we're looking at this article here from the Hollywood Reporter that he has signed this 4-movie deal with Amazon Studios to write, direct, and produce 4 films for Amazon. And this is huge for Tyler Perry and for anybody that loves Tyler Perry or Tyler Perry movies and fans out there. So yeah, I want to read a little bit from this article. Tyler Perry is getting into business with Amazon, setting a 4-movie deal with the streaming giant. Under the pact, Perry will write, direct, and produce 4 features that will be released on Prime Video. Perry said in a statement, quote, "Jennifer Salk and the entire team have welcomed me with open arms. I am looking forward to continuing telling unique stories and bringing my next projects to the global audiences that they reach." And then we go on, we get some quote here from Salk that says, "Tyler Perry is undeniably one of the most prolific creators of our time. He is a true multi-hyphenate who has defined his own incredible brand of storytelling and inspired people all over the world with his series and films. We are excited to collaborate with Tyler and his teams to bring even more of his fantastic signature films to our global audiences." So, what I like about this is like I said, there's kind of a niche, a market for more black audiences, black filmmakers, and black actors. And this is cool, like I said, for a lot of those people, because now they'll have access to these movies right away. They get more Tyler Perry movies. We get more, Megan Good and I forget, Gabrielle Union, and all these really wonderful, Sanaa Lathan. There's so many wonderful, like I said, black actors and actresses that just don't get that same appreciation in Hollywood that everyone else does. And we get to see them perform every time in these movies, and they're all so great. So I love that for the fans of these things. I love it for Tyler Perry. I love it for Amazon that they're still willing to just throw money at anything. That's still good for us, I think, right now, at least as film or streaming fans or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so this is interesting news. I'm happy, like I said, for everybody involved in the situation, and I can't wait to see what this brings moving forward. What kind of movies is one of those or 2 of those a Madea movie, or are we gonna get all dramatic, or are we gonna, it'll be a kind of a mix? He's talked about doing musical stuff. I'd be interested in seeing him kind of do what he wants, and I think that's kind of what this is about. But Shane, you're hearing this. I know, like I said, we're not the biggest know-howers or know-overs of Tyler Perry content, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, not really. I don't know if I've seen more than a couple, but I can tell you who's a huge Madea fan, and that's my mom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm sure she's excited. She's always excited about more Tyler Perry content, which comes every year.
You have to send her a link to the video.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Hopefully she's watching now. Hey, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Hey, Mom. Again, we were talking about this, and we're going to continue talking about this on the Today Show. But last week, Amazon's really, pushing all in on this theatrical. So we know for sure that 12 to 15 movies per year, Amazon's going to bring to the theater. Well, now I know for the first 4 years, one of those is going to be a Tyler Perry movie.
Right, no doubt.
And it's awesome for Tyler Perry fans for a couple of reasons, because not only we get more of his films, but this is a great relationship that he's fostering with Amazon, because not only is Tyler Perry known for his film work, everything, but his TV series.
Yeah,
and I'm looking on here. His last 2 TV series have premiered and are only available on BET Plus.
Right,
and that's probably a very
that's
seldom.
That's what I brought up. There's this very niche market that he represents, and that's what that's why I wanted to talk about this today, right? Because there's not enough people, the people that I watch on YouTube aren't going to talk about this stuff because it is a real niche market. But my wife loves these types of things. Like,
well, they're all about family.
Yes.
And, the comedies anyway.
Yes, for sure.
And again, he is a very prolific filmmaker. His Jazzman's Blues that came out this year. That looks great. Very serious drama. Period. So he can do
it's just
anything.
Unexpected too. Yeah. When I first seen the trailers for that, I remember thinking Tyler Perry. Like some of the, and that's what I was saying. This is why I'm really interested too, because I think this kind of opens up the wheelhouse for him to have the option to kind of do some different stuff. I mean, what would a musical look like? He totally seems like a song and dance kind of dude.
He seems like a fan of everything.
He's a performer.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Well, and you're right. He is a performer. He's an actor, director, writer, producer. So, I mean, you can't really figure out, that's what kind of, I know why you're excited about this news, because it's not like, a lot of the stuff we talk about where it's like, hey, in 3 years, you're going to get this da-da-da movie.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, I have no idea what Tyler Perry's going to do, because he's going to do whatever he wants to do. So, it is really cool. And again, it's nice that has this relationship with Amazon, because they do TV shows as well. It's not just hopefully the movies. Hopefully you can start bringing these these TV productions to streaming shows to Amazon Prime. Yeah. And then, it won't be just on BET.
And then vice versa, something else that you just brought up, then maybe it gives Amazon a leg up on getting some of that stuff that it's exclusively on BET Plus on over to Amazon Prime. Hey, Tyler, now that we're scratching on each other's backs, how about we throw a couple Madea? It's Christmas. Let's throw Madea's Christmas up on Amazon. It opens doors both ways. And like I said, I'm glad for those audience members that really love this stuff, because it gives them more. BET Plus? Come on, Shane.
I didn't even know
we didn't even know that existed, right? I
had no idea.
I mean, again, my wife's black. I mean, it's not that we don't know black people or anything, or we're not involved in it. But the thing is that, we just talked about Sony. This, a multi-billion-dollar
BET
company.
Plus has one, but not Sony.
Right. But BET Plus, and that's the only place you can get this. So like I said, for those people that want to see it, that don't have BET Plus, but do have Amazon, because most people, we can agree with this. Most people that have Amazon don't have it for Amazon Prime Video.
My wife and I always talk about how we'll forever have Amazon Prime, because we go to Whole Foods, we get the shipping.
All of it. Yeah, you're getting the whole package.
Exactly.
Right.
The Twitch. Yes.
Right. And so that's the thing. There's probably a lot of these viewers out there that are wanting to see this content that just happen to have Amazon Prime because they get packages so often, or whatever the case may be. So this gives them the opportunity possibly to have better access to this and more more of their customers to have access. Like I said, I know it's a very niche kind of thing, but still, those people want to not have to subscribe to specifically such a niche streaming service as like, BET Plus, right? But yeah, good for you, BET and BET Plus. I hope you guys keep raking in the what's that cost per month, right? I mean, but anyways, guys, yeah. What are your guys' thoughts on all this? Are you guys Tyler Perry fans, Madea fans? Do you want to see more? Do you only want to see 4 Madea movies? Yeah, definitely let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. All right, with that down, we are going to move on to our 4th main topic today. And our 4th main topic today is kind of under the same stuff like Shane brought up that we've been talking about for the past week or so, which is Amazon investing all this money into movies, into the theater experience specifically, right? So we talked about, was it Friday? I believe it was Friday on the show. We talked about how at this point, Amazon is dedicating in 2023 was 10 billion?
Yeah, it was right around 1 billion, and then they spent 9 billion on MGM.
Okay. So yeah, we can say they've dedicated 10 billion to movie theaters and creating more movies for theaters, right? 10 billion, that's a lot of freaking money, guys. And yeah, so what we want to specifically talk about right now is how they have acquired MGM. Now, I know that this is kind of old news in a way, but these things take a lot of time. If you guys remember when Disney bought Fox, we knew about it for like a year, but it took forever for all the things to happen and to fall into place for them to acquire it. But it looks like that is kind of happening. The ball is starting to roll more with this acquisition of MGM by Amazon, right? Because the CEO Mark Burnett, he's exiting MGM and letting Amazon. This is giving a chance for Amazon, obviously, right, to come in and start to, take over the reins of this whole thing and hire who they want and do things like that, right? This is interesting to me just in the thought, again, that Amazon is really, like Shane said earlier, is just all in right now. They're pushing all the chips forward and going, hey, we think this is what's best. And like I was telling Shane, a few weeks ago, that this could really, we were talking about this with just Netflix announcing that they were going to put Glass Onion into theaters. We were like, man, this could really change the whole streaming and theater industry. And now it seems that these things are. And we'll talk more about Glass Onion later and how it's going to change, or it may be changing the industry now. But specifically, all this money that they're putting in, their acquisition of MGM, all of that stuff is going to bring a lot more content to theaters, clearly. And as we know, MGM isn't Marvel or DC or Disney and all of that shit. And neither is Amazon Studios, right? Amazon Studio isn't Marvel and Disney and DC and Star Wars either. They have a lot of original, very cool, unique content. I know a lot of people that love, Shane, help me out with the space movie our show that we wanted to love. Expanse?
Yeah, The Expanse.
Yeah, I know everyone I know, I feel like, Key, you're going to love The Expanse. I'm like, I've tried 2 episodes. Like, oh, you got to give it more time. Or I mean,
and people rave about the new Bond movies. They love the new Bond movies.
Or there's Ring of Power. They've acquired Lord of the Rings rights and stuff. So so much that could go on here, and that could be, like I said, a variety. We know now that they have Tyler Perry, right? So now we could see a Madea movie back in theaters, or we could see like this cool what was it? The jazz. What was it here? A Jasmine's Blue, we could see something like that now in theaters, which I think really, again, is hitting this kind of what I would call niche market, but I think is really ballooning with like A24, and Jordan Peele is a perfect example. Would we expected, a comedy actor basically to step into a directing role and writing and producing, make a movie, and those movies consistently make good money? No way. We never thought that was possible, but Audiences are
Another
starting.
one like that's Jonah Hill.
Right. There's another perfect example. And I think people are starting to open their eyes up to these smaller films a little more often. We've seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, do the biggest numbers A24's ever done this year. So I think people are starting to give these things more of a chance. And I think this, again, bodes well for them acquiring MGM, taking over and putting out, at least, what was it? Did they say 12 to 15, right? 12 to 15, budgeted films into the theater to create more box office and create more dollars and sell more popcorn for the movie theater. This is great for everything. If you're a movie fan, you love movies, specifically if you love going out to the theater to see movies, this is good for everybody. It's also good for the streaming people that love sitting at home and watching streaming stuff too, right? Because all of this stuff eventually comes to streaming, and we know that Amazon will probably do what Netflix is doing with Glass Onion, where it'll probably only be like 30 days. So small windows, we're guessing, just cracks in the windows, we're guessing on most of these releases. But Shane, you're hearing this information. What are your thoughts on them acquiring MGM, the CEO stepping down, and them starting to come in and take over?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's a pretty good move because you have two different companies essentially with MGM. You have United Artists and you have MGM. And United Artists is always kind of seen more of the prestige and more of the, Oscar-worthy pictures. But MGM, on the other hand, they've got some pretty stellar franchise rights, too, that I'm sure that Amazon's excited about to sink their teeth in, with Creed's coming out. That's MGM, so that whole Rocky franchise. We haven't seen a RoboCop movie in a while, or Poltergeist.
Listen, it couldn't be a better time for it.
No, right? Yeah. No
Come on.
We are living RoboCop
movie, or you mean the RoboCop quadrilogy? Right? Come on.
No kidding. I mean, and let's see, they got Stargate, they got G.I. Joe, Tomb Raider. So, it works on a lot. So they can bring in, and
that's just big IP.
Yeah, exactly.
They also have a history of working with very talented filmmakers. And I think that matters a lot too, right?
Well, and Amazon's also spent the last 5-10 years, developing their own name as a studio,
right,
and they're acquiring. I look on their future slate list, and they got like a Guy Ritchie movie in the works. They got like a Voltron movie,
right?
A George Clinton biopic. Yes,
no,
please.
Thank you.
What?
Wait, what'd you say it was?
George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The musician.
For some reason, I thought you said Bill Clinton.
No, not at all.
I was like,
no, who
please.
cares? No, but
Why
we need
the
to
hell
see
do we
George
need
Clinton
that?
and his P-Funk All-Stars. I need to see that movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you said, it's just they have a wide range. This wasn't a hey, this is going to benefit us a little bit. This is going to benefit them tremendously because they could do the blockbusters, they could do the family stuff. They got Addams Family, but they can also do the more serious.
Has that cachet like we talked about, because they got the Lion in the deal, right, Shane?
Yep, Leo the Lion.
He's coming, right? And so at the beginning of all those movies, just like Sony does, hits us with Columbia, right?
Yep.
They hit us with that, which is also kind of iconic, right?
Yeah.
And so is that
Well,
Lion.
Sony being Columbia is perfect because Columbia has always been the bastard child of the Hollywood.
Yeah.
Always looked down upon.
Which is kind of how Sony is.
Yeah, so it was perfect. It's not the Paramount. It's not the Warner. Fox was always kind of seen as this kind of, risk taker, and we saw how that played out. They're gone.
Right.
So,
right. Sure.
But I'm glad. Again, I mentioned this Friday. I'm a big fan of movie history, so to know that MGM's legacy will live on because Amazon ain't going anywhere. It'll be nice to be able to turn a movie on and, like you said, see Leo the Lion doing his roar to get me ready. And it's perfect to balance your sound system. You get Leo the Lion. It's a lot better than the Columbia where you just get the music coming in. It's like, I guess this is right. I'm going to have to wait. But you get that lion, you're like, yeah.
There's an episode of Family Guy where all these, like, small zoo or like animals from the wild are in classes. They're all kind of children and they're all learning and they're all like doing a report like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And there's a little lion cub and he's like, I want to be at the beginning of the movies and I want to roar real loud. And all the class laughs at him like, you're so stupid. And then it cuts to the MGM logo and he's instead of him roaring, it's actually him going, ha, you motherfucker. You know, like,
Nice.
right. And speaking of, you keep saying you're a fan of Hollywood or movie history. I was at Target and I was walking around in the book section because you know how much I love to read, and I come across for 20% off your Christmas present. I know now.
Ooh, all right.
Yep.
Let's go.
Yep, which is the Quentin Tarantino new
Oh God.
Hollywood movie history book from your
Is it even
band.
movie histories or just lists of his favorite movies?
Right, it's just a whole book of movies that I like.
Right.
But yeah, this is like I said, really exciting for moviegoers, for the movie industry, for Amazon, for MGM, for Leo the Lion. Yeah, he probably got a good chunk of change out of this whole deal. So yeah, we're happy for everybody and we're glad this happened. Guys, what are your thoughts? What do you think about Amazon acquiring them and making this big push for theatrical releases and stuff? Definitely let us know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Okay, with that down, we are going to move into our next main topic today, and that is our fifth main topic. I know usually we only have 5, but moving along quickly here, we have, let's see, where is it?
This weekend's box office.
There it is. Yeah, we have this weekend's box office. And this weekend's box office, as predicted, as always, as long as Wakanda Forever is going to be out. Let me see if I can find this thing here. Nope, that's not it. Give me 1 second, guys. There we go. All right. And yeah, and again, I always like to use the guys over at Cinema Blend whenever we do the weekend box office, because they love to put up this little beautiful chart that I love to bring up for you guys, so you guys can have a more charted experience knowing what's going on. So of course, again, like we were talking about, as you can see, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever still brought in almost $46 million. You know, that's a ton of money, and it's doing great. It's at 370 almost domestically. Worldwide, it's got to be hitting over 600-700 million now. So that's as expected. Strange World, the new Disney animated movie that they didn't want to tell us anything about and didn't want to market at all. And I guess I haven't seen the movie, so I don't want to completely, lie about what I'm going to say. But I guess the main characters are of LGBTQ, and so I think that there was a lot of discussion about them kind of hiding all the marketing for it for fear that it wouldn't do well. Well, it didn't do well anyway because people didn't even know it existed. And way to run from something you created, Disney. Yeah, that thing's gonna bomb, and it's gonna lose them $200 or $300 million, and they deserve that. And yeah, honestly, from what I've seen of it, it looks kind of fun. Like it looks really. I love the animation style, at least. I watched a little piece of a trailer with my daughter was watching it. She was super interested into it. And I mean, it's for kids. So this seems like another example of Lightyear where you just didn't market it. You didn't tell us what was going on, and we just didn't know what to expect, so nobody went out to see it. This seems like one of those Disney animated movies that should do well, like all of them, but whatever. And then third, and this is, the big thing was, and we're going to count this as, I know it says here, you guys can see that it says it made 9.2 million. We're talking about Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, which is Knives Out 2, right? But we're going to count the holiday weekend because that's what they would normally do in a situation like this. So in the holiday weekend, it managed to pull in a little over 13 million in the box office. Now, guys, what I want to emphasize on here and what's very important is that this number right here, the 696, as you can see, Strange World, Wakanda Forever, all those were in 4 1,000 plus theaters, where Glass Onion was in a very small limited release. I actually wanted to go check out Glass Onion before today's show, but I just kind of didn't have time. But I am going to go check it out tonight. I will give my out of theater review as soon as I get out, like I always do, and then I will talk about it here on the show tomorrow and give you my kind of spoiler free review of it. But I'm actually really excited to see it now. I've seen a lot of pundits that I know around on YouTube that I love and respect, and I think that they've been saying it's better than the first one and stuff. So my hype for it's actually gone up. Like me and Shane were just talking about it on the channel not that long ago. I was like, I'm not going out to theaters to see this. I'm gonna see it on streaming in 20 days. But yeah, hey, the word of mouth thing sometimes will get you, and I think it's got me. So I'm gonna go check it out. And then we go on Devotion. I'm not even really sure what Devotion is, but after that we have The Menu. The Menu was and most of you guys probably know what that is. It's kind of like Knives Out, like a whodunit suspense thriller in a way. I don't want to say they're very different films from each other. But The Menu actually looks good. My wife really wanted to go see it. We were going to go see it instead of Glass Onion, but then when I started to hear all the stuff about Glass Onion, I was like, hey, it seems pretty obvious that we should go check that out if we're going to go to see a movie. And then, moving on, Black Adam was able to bring in 335, which is, it's okay where it's at. It's sitting at 162 domestic. Man, that's just so, man, it's just so bad. And then, of course, you had The Fabelmans, right? Which, honestly, the marketing push for this kind of came out of nowhere for me, and I've been seeing a lot about it, and it managed to bring in only $2 million. So that's not very good at all. It is also on kind of a limited release. And then Ticket to Paradise is still bringing in money. That movie's at $65 million total for domestic box office for Ticket to Paradise, man. That's awesome. That's a huge win for a film that nobody really was on nobody's radar, and probably most of you watching this show and everyone in this room will never see. So, but good for the box office, good for movies, good for whoever's in that, Alec Baldwin or whoever it was. It was one of those old white dudes. But yeah, I'm glad to see it. Again, this is kind of expected. We expected Black Panther. Honestly, I thought Knives Out would overtake Strange World, but it makes sense because it's in such a limited run of theaters. And we'll talk a little more about that in our last topic. But yeah, I want to kick it over to Shane. Shane, what are your thoughts on this weekend's box office?
Thank God for Black Panther 2: Wakanda Forever. No, they are single-handedly keeping the theaters open. I just read that with the help of Black Panther, obviously, and Knives Out, Glass Onion, that they were able to reach over 100 million in total theater sales this weekend, which is the third weekend in a row, which is the first time that's happened since July.
Jesus.
So it was a big weekend.
Which was like when Doctor Strange and all that.
Even though this is definitely a down year for Thanksgiving, and again, I didn't know anything about Strange World, but everything I read, it does look pretty good. And you're right, I think maybe they tried to just skirt, and it didn't pay off. And especially since this is one of the weakest movies, Disney animated releases in a long time.
Right.
And people like you're going to look back upon this and just see that number and be like, oh, that movie must have sucked. They didn't make any money.
Yeah, even if it's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, but with stuff like this, it happens. But yeah, it is, thank goodness for Black Panther. It is now just about $2 million from overshooting both Batman and Minions 2.
For domestic?
For total domestic.
Makes sense.
They're about to squeeze in nice and cozy there at number 3 spot. They're going to have to hit over another 50 mil to take over number 2 from Doctor Strange, but I think they can do that. Mm-hmm. I think the saddest thing, again, is Black Adam. Yeah. And I don't know if you saw this, but you can now stream it. You can rent it now.
Oh, sure. Yeah, like the Fandango at home.
Yeah, thing, so it's pretty much that's done. The death rattle for Black Adam in the theater. And it was able to. It's right now sitting at number 10. It's not going to last. It's going to get pushed out of the top 10 annually, it's going to finish right behind Sonic 2.
Jeez.
So. Not where
What?
DC was
Can you-
wanting it.
I mean,
yeah.
if I would have told you that months ago, 2
Never.
months ago, you
Never.
would have bet your whole
Yeah.
soul against it.
Yeah.
So would I have.
You got The Rock, you got Black Adam, a DC
DC,
movie.
we knew Superman was going to be in it.
If I was Warner Brothers, I'd be feeling really nervous about Flashpoint. Because they spent a lot of money on that. It's going to be a big one. And you look at Black Adam, and it's like, man, it couldn't even make $200 million domestically. That's pretty much where you want to be at.
Right.
But yeah, other than that, again, even though it's got the sad points for this weekend, it's nice to see that they reached over 100 million for the third weekend. Maybe they can keep it going. Weekend number 4 coming up. But
yeah,
yep.
But yeah, and then have you had a chance to check out the trailer for The Menu?
No, I didn't even know about it.
You should check it out sometime. I think
Okay.
it definitely looks like something that we would be interested in because there's that whole what the fuck kind of thing going on, and it's kind of like I said. I don't want to say it's like Knives Out because it's nothing like that, but it's kind of like a whodunit mystery thing, but more like twisted and less straightforward, and you know how Knives Out is. It's like made for your regular
it's very
dude.
glossy,
Yes,
and
right.
family friendly.
This is like in the same kind of vein of what they're doing, but more like if someone
maybe more realistic.
Yeah,
twisted,
for sure. Yes,
darker.
for sure. Definitely. Yeah, a lot of things that you're not gonna get. Like I said, Knives Out is really meant for your everyday person.
And more of a comedy. This Menu's probably more of a black comedy.
Yes, this is something. I don't know if there's even any comedy to
there
it.
you
Where
go.
they're calling Knives Out just comedy in the genre. That's it. Which I wouldn't call, or the Glass Onion. They're calling that. I wouldn't call Knives Out a comedy. I didn't feel that way, at least.
It was definitely a comedy.
I mean, I chuckled at times, but
they
I
tried.
but I didn't. I wasn't there for the comedy, and I didn't feel like that was what I.
You do realize Clue is also a comedy.
Right. I mean, it is. I would give it more of a comedy than.
It's funnier.
Yes,
for sure.
but yeah, guys, what are you guys' thoughts on this weekend box office? Again, we knew Wakanda Forever was gonna be up there. It will continue to until, of course, Avatar 2 comes out. So, but yeah, let us know whatever your guys' thoughts are in the comment section below. All right. With that down, we're going to move in our last main topic, and it's kind of on the same subject, which is Glass Onion, splashing and being this big hit at the box office this weekend. And specifically want to talk about, because we know the numbers now, right? I will kick back over to the article here so you can check it out. So we know over the holiday weekend it brought in $13.3 million, and that is into the domestic box office alone. Obviously, this thing wasn't released, worldwide like a lot of these movies on this list would have been or are. And it was a limited theater run in a small, under 1,000 theaters. Normally, as you can see again here, we typically get 4,000 plus theaters for a wide release. So, couple questions that I want to pose to myself and to Shane, and I'll start with giving them to Shane first, and then giving you my thoughts after Shane. So, my question to you is this, Shane: in your opinion, this movie, 13.3 million holiday weekend with a 700 theater release. If this would have got a full release with 4,000 theaters like Wakanda Forever and all these other movies, what do you think it would have done at the box office?
It have to at least double. I mean, who
think?
even knows? Because, Strange Worlds, is that what I've already got?
Yes.
They had 4,000 theater
Yes.
release, and they pulled in a couple million more.
Yeah, 18, so 5 million more.
Yeah, so I mean,
I think it
so you
doubled-
put the
did
same
more than
amount.
that.
No kidding. I mean, it would have had to. So are they kicking themselves for not doing it?
Okay, so that's another question I'd like to pose. And so what I would like to say is, for sure, there's no doubt in my mind, you put this in 4,000. I mean, just do the math. It's just like, I know this doesn't always correlate, right? But I remember when I would watch, basketball. If Melo had 20 at half, what's he going to have, when the game's over?
Whatever he averages, it usually balances
Sure,
out.
but
Probably
as a
30.
fan of Melo,
probably is 30 points,
we're
32 points.
we're like, well, if he can score 20 in the first half,
He's coming in at 32 points.
He's
going in his average.
He's gonna score around 20 in the second half, man. He's gonna have a 40-point game tonight, right? And
how often did that happen?
And not as often, like I said, not always. And the same thing, I see it all the time with rebounds. I see, like, Blake Griffin got 12 rebounds in the first half. I'm like, he ain't finna finish the game with 24 boards.
15.
Right,
finishes
right.
with 15.
Right.
Whatever his
Finishes
average
with 13.
is. Yeah,
right, yeah.
It always averages out.
Right. But
that's
but
why
yes.
I'm guessing double. I mean, I know that you want to say it's got to be over 4 times the
I said on the show. I said on the show that it was a $40 million plus opening weekend if this thing released in.
What did Black Panther opening? That was a 50.
Black Panther, that was like
60?
150, 175, I think.
For the whole weekend?
Opening weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's way
I thought
different.
it was under 100, but
no, it was
wrong.
it was like 175 opening weekend. Now Black Adam was like 60, 65.
That did even worse. But
right.
maybe I can.
But I'm telling you, in my opinion, this is a $45 million opening weekend. If they had done this for
then your
4
math
weeks.
would be right on there because if it was at 1,000 theaters and
so the question is that you just posed is now, are they kicking themselves in the head? Going, what are we doing? Why do we do this? And my answer to you, or my thought on that, is no. What this was is what we always thought it was, which was a barometer, right? This was a test, get a feel for what we can do with this thing, and it went swimmingly. It went better than they probably imagined. And so now moving forward, they will make more decisions based off of this, right? I think so. There's another Knives Out movie coming out that they spent $200 million to just get the rights to, right? Mm-hmm. And so now they got to be thinking, well, shoot, if we let this have a full run of 90 days, like everything else is, maybe we could squeeze the budget back out of this damn movie, right? Mm-hmm. And that's being said with the fact that, too, couple that with the idea that the marketing for Glass Onion has not been, it's marketed itself. We often talk about how Netflix and those things don't market enough to us. Mm-hmm. And that's true in most cases. But because the first movie was as good as it was and people loved it as much as they did, this movie marketed itself.
It also was big news.
You didn't see this on Monday Night Football.
Sure, but it was also in the news because Netflix releasing a movie is news.
True.
So like you said, it kind of does itself. I kind of have to disagree with you, though. I think they are kicking themselves.
Yeah.
Because there's no guarantee in movies. You're right. This could be, the next one is going to do this much money, and it doesn't. Because that's movies. So anytime you leave the table with money left on the table, I think they're absolutely kicking themselves because there's no guarantee the next poker hand is going to play out the same way. It just doesn't work like that in the movie. It's like, if it did, you just have, I can only pull from my movie history knowledge, but I'm sure this has happened many times. But I'll never forget when Coca-Cola bought Columbia in the early 80s. And then after like 2 or 3 years, they dropped it because they were just like, yeah, this isn't our business. We don't know if we can't, there's no guarantee to make any money.
Right.
So I think, them leaving that, especially the amount of money that they left. If you're right, because if they put it as a normal release in 4,000 theaters.
Right. And this is so far. Keep in mind, guys, and Shane, that this is the first weekend. Mm-hmm. This still got 3 more weekends.
And if it would have stayed in 4,000 theaters.
And the way word of mouth works with films like this, we could see this have a drop off of only like 10% or some crazy shit.
Before you had started hearing the reviews, how likely were you to see this movie?
We talked about it on the show. I said I will wait. And now I'm going to see it today. Yeah. Right. And there's how good the word of mouth is on it too. So like I said, we could see this. It pulled in 13 right now. If it was able to pull in 10 more, over the next 3 weeks, it's still approaching a $50 million rake in.
And that's 25% of what you spent.
Right, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt, right? And so what my prediction with this is moving forward, we see exactly what we just talked about and our main topic, number 3 or 4, with Amazon spending all of this money in theatrical push.
You know, and I think too, like with Amazon, you know, when you talk about how this is a barometer, I think if this was Amazon that did this, I would agree with you, because what do they have to lose?
You're right. Yeah,
but
they definitely
Netflix,
wouldn't care. Right.
I mean, come on, how much money are they really making?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's definitely got to be someone over there punching themselves in the freaking head. That's for sure. I'll tell you who
lost
it's
their
not.
job.
It's not Ryan Johnson.
No,
It's not.
whoever's decision that was, or some person who just lost their job this weekend because Knives Out did so well in the theaters.
Right, no doubt. Yeah.
And think about the weekend too. I mean, you're not even just talking about lost money for Netflix, because you're thinking over here, oh, it's good for movie business. Think about how many theaters were like, well, if we could have shown Knives Out.
Yeah, it kind of muddles your relationship with theaters a little bit, but it kind of gives them a leg up in conversations later going, well, dude, if we would have had Knives Out, we could have made a bunch of more money, and we could have this and that, you know, and for sure those.
So I think it was a loss for everybody. It's a shame that Knives Out couldn't have had a bigger, wide release.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm glad to see it be successful. I'm glad that it seems, you know, critics are loving it, audience is loving it. It's over a 90% both ways. Like I said, you know, Knives Out 1 is like a 97, 98% with like 500 reviews, critic reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's pretty impressive numbers.
That's very impressive.
That being said, you know, I enjoyed my time with Knives Out, but I wouldn't.
It was okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I would watch another one, but
I mean, I would have given it a thumbs up because those are my only two
but
choices.
It's not like it wasn't one of the best movies I've seen.
But honestly,
that
this
year.
setup did seem more interesting, and I did like the fact that they're, you know, besides the main character, it's all self-contained. It's just he's the same character.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, just I forget his name, but Detective
Daniel Craig.
Yeah, you know, I know.
Oh, but
whatever,
who
something
knows?
funny,
Doesn't
yeah. But yeah, and then you did bring in a lot of interesting people. You know, people love Edward Norton, you know, and you bring him in, and then the guy.
A lot of great comedians in this cast too. So you know, this should be funnier than the first one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and the first one was the same way. You know, you had. Jamie Lee Curtis and all these, you know.
I forgot she was even in it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, for sure. But,
it's been probably a couple years since I've seen it. Maybe I need to take a look.
She's in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and she's freaking.
Is she really?
Cringy.
I didn't hear about that.
Oh, she's cringy.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
In a good way, like supposed to be?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
Oh, yes.
Cool.
Like, that's the character she is, and she does it so good that, like, you want to believe like she just maybe is like that. It's so good. It reminds me a lot of Jonah Hill and This Is the End. You're just like, he's not acting. He's like that. But yeah, guys. But what do you guys think about all this? Are you one of the few million people that went out to see Glass Onion over the holiday weekend? Do you not want to see it? Could you care less? Did you not like the first one? Definitely let us know your thoughts down in the comment section below. All right, with that down, we are going to move over to the chat section. It seems like we have a decently active chat today.
Yeah, a lot of chatters, not a lot of questions, but let's go through some of them. Lily Ali wants to know, this is very broad, but maybe we could take a few of these and shout them out. But what Christmas movies are coming soon?
So well, you know, I want to, on that topic, then I'll just tell you one thing that, you know, we were also talking about the bad marketing thing. And then me and Shane were kind of having a little debate about Star Wars and why, Lion King and why a live action needs to be made or doesn't need to be made or whatever. And on that same subject, you know, Lion King and all this shit's getting remade because when people like me were a child, now I got all this money and they want to take my money from me. That's why it gets made, Shane, and you knew that. But my point is on that same subject, and on the subject of what Christmas stuff is coming out. When I was a kid, Shane, and I think that you will have some relation to this with your nephew probably, what was big for me and my family or the kids my age was the Tim Allen Santa Claus movie.
Oh, yeah? Are they doing a TV show?
And that's what I'm going to bring up. It's out. It's on.
Is it Tim Allen as well as Santa Claus?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
and
like cool.
I've heard and seen nothing for this. Nothing. Also, on the same freaking streaming service, there's a new Home Alone movie.
I saw that they had a Jingle All the Way 2 on Disney Plus.
And nothing. I've got nothing.
Yeah.
No marketing at all for this.
Well, I just looked this up. This is from people.com. I just shared this link in chat. There are over 150 brand new Christmas movies coming out this season.
Jesus.
150.
Yep.
Sure, a lot of those probably half are the Lifetime, made for television,
Right.
probably a couple $1 million budget,
Right.
very cheap. But still, that
But
is
yeah,
a
and then
lot.
some of them are like a very flattened Christmas. And
Nice. Maybe next year.
Right. But yeah, I get what you mean for sure.
And we were just talking
But that's
about
still a ton of freaking movies, Shane.
we were just talking about BET Plus. There was one on November 3rd at Wesley Christmas. One on November 10th, the first Noel, November 17th. I mean, if you like Christmas movies, there's one every week over on BET Plus. Discovery Plus even has some. I mean, Great American Family, is that a streaming service? I don't know what they are. But
This episode of Screen Talk Live brought to you by BET Plus.
Subscribe today.
Make sure you use code Keaton Toothman and you check out.
I need that BET money.
Right.
Oh,
No,
man.
I'm joking. They're not sponsoring us. We're just trying to successfully reconnected. So are we back? Are we live? Yeah, I think we're back.
Awesome.
Sorry, guys. We had a little OBS malfunction there. That's the beauty of doing a live stream, right? But yeah, Elf 2, right? So, again, this has been one of those ones that why not for a long time. Man, I want to say it might be too late. It might be too late. I have soured a lot on Will Ferrell a lot in these later years. I mean, it may have just all been that Sherlock Holmes things he did. But there was a lot. I did see Spirited. My review's up on the channel for that. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. And he stars in that with Ryan Reynolds. It's a Christmas movie. Another recommendation for you guys. And I told Shane, that I really thought he brought it back. Like, I felt more like that connection to man, I freaking love Will Ferrell, right? We all freaking love Will Ferrell. And I think we can all agree that Elf is one of the best Christmas movies. I think we can all agree on that. But I will say that for me, I forget about it. I kind of forget about it. And just Matt actually brought it up the other day when we were talking about it. And it's one of those ones, as soon as you hear, you're like, oh, yeah, Elf. How do I not remember Elf? And how is it not in my rotation? Like, it's one that, I'll remember sometime through Christmas through, an ad, or it's on Netflix now, and I'll see it, and I'm like, yeah, Elf. But it's not one that I go into having already oh, Elf, I'm
and
watching.
You were that age too. You were 9 when it came out.
Dude, that again, I'm saying it's one of the better Christmas movies I've seen. So, would there be an Elf 2? Or could there be an Elf 2? Definitely. I mean, we live in the world of give us more of what we used to love, right? So I could see them doing it. And Will Ferrell talked about it for a long time. And early on, there were lots of discussions about doing Elf 2. But back then, Will Ferrell was busy as hell. Super busy. And Elf was kind of like this one-off weird thing that he did at the time, and no one ever expected it to be what it was. But on this subject, before I let Shane give you his thoughts on whether we should have Elf 2 or not, we also, one that was in my rotation that did get a sequel that I would compare these two things alike is Bad Santa. And we got a sequel for Bad Santa. We got Bad Santa 2, and it's not as good as Bad Santa, but I'm glad that it exists, and I would watch it during Christmas. If we watch Bad Santa 1 and we have access to Bad Santa 2, yeah, sure, give it to me. So even if Elf isn't that great, I could still see, us wanting to watch it just because, we love Elf so much. But what do you think, Shane?
Oh, I can absolutely see, like you said, it's IP, you got to bring it back. They also have a perfect excuse to bring it back now, which would, if they did do this, I wouldn't want to watch it. But I found out recently that A Christmas Story 2, is it just 2? I can't remember what
I don't
the
know
new
what
one
they're calling
is.
it. Yeah.
So I guess Ralphie comes home and his father passes away. Did you hear about that? Spoiler alert. Sorry, guys.
No.
I'm glad I spoiled it though, because I had it spoiled, and knowing that, I do not want to watch that. That is not the Christmas movie, especially as someone who's approaching 40, and so my parents are getting older.
Right.
That's something that I do not want to even talk about,
Right.
let alone watch a childhood favorite movie of mine have to deal with it. But you could, in theory, do the same thing with Elf too, because you just had James Caan passed, and that's his father.
Right.
So how do you do an Elf movie?
He becomes
when
Santa.
You don't, or you know, he deals with the mortal, because he's not mortal. Is he mortal? Do we know? I mean, he's just a human. I guess.
Who knows how any of that works?
I think it's just two humans. He was just abandoned there. So
I was always told that
if half elf,
if Santa got into it with Superman, that Santa would be able to win.
Well, magic.
That's what I was always told.
Magic based.
Well, I'm just saying, if he's that powerful, then you think he's.
Speaking of that powerful, I just saw Fat Man. With Mel Gibson as Santa Claus.
Oh, I haven't seen that. Come out last year. What'd you think?
Yeah. You know, I think I liked it.
Or it might have been a couple years ago now.
The thing is,
I liked it.
They spend a lot of time.
It looked too like.
It was better. Like there was parts that I thought were like, oh, this is really cool. But I think it focused a lot on the assassin. And then when you get to the end, you're like, okay, I guess I understand now why. So that's why I think I liked it. But I remember watching it going like, why are we still with this guy?
Yeah.
And why do we care? And then at the end, I'm like, okay, now I guess I kind of care, but it was pretty good. I'd give it a thumbs up.
Remember the trailer we watched for? I think it's called like the cleaner or something, and it's the big Adrian Brody, and it's kind of like Nobody. Remember that? It's on streaming now, so we really need to check that out and review it.
Yeah.
But on the same subject of those like revenge badass John Wick style movies, there's Violent Night, and I'm gonna go see that. We're gonna go see it. It looks so fun.
Yeah.
But would you, from what you've seen of Violent Night, would you think that would be something you would favor over?
I think
what was it called again?
Fat Man.
Fat Man. Yeah.
What I liked about Fat Man was they made Santa Claus very realistic.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the best stuff. And I think that was my problem. Was Santa? You could almost say it was the co-star of the movie. It really was the assassin's movie.
Right.
And I think that's what left me going, Whereas
Violent
Night, it's all Santa.
Yeah, it is.
And it's definitely more over the top. It's the John Wick style, the Nobody. So it's going to be awesome.
Right.
I probably would, if I had to, since I haven't seen Violent Night yet, but guessing, I could probably say that Violent Night would probably make it into an annual rotation.
Yeah, for sure.
Fat Man would be probably maybe every 5 years would be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Let's
It's
throw
the
that on.
punchlines for me. Santa Claus is coming to town.
It's more fun, and this is a fun time of year. Whereas Fat Man was definitely realistic, and you don't want that during Christmas.
It gives me the vibes of your favorite Batman movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. What's that?
Batman and Robin. Yeah,
to meet you. Time to kick some ice. Right? Yeah. I mean.
Oh yeah, great drinking
super
movie.
Cheesy punchlines, but yeah, good times. What else do we got?
I think this is the last question, but Lily Ali wants to know what about Christmas horror movie recommendations?
Oh, would you want to see an Elf 2?
I mean, I probably would watch it, but because again, it's Christmas, it's Will Ferrell. It doesn't need to be made. No.
Right.
I could go the rest of my life without
seeing Elf 2.
Having an Elf 2 be
made. Is Elf 1 one you consider? Is it something you try to watch every year?
I should. It is one that I kind of forget about too.
Right?
Probably because I didn't grow up with it. It came out when I was in college.
Right.
So, but when I do see it, I do throw it on.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. What was the question?
Any Christmas horror movie recommendation?
Okay, besides A Very Flattened Christmas.
Yes. Coming next year.
Let's see. There's the one we watched last year. I can't remember what it's called now. I think it was a remake of a 1980s movie called Black Christmas, I believe. The 1980s movie is not bad either, by the way. You should definitely check that out.
It's very cool.
But this was really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It really reminds me a lot of that Freaky movie where they took something old and they put their own new spin on it. Mm-hmm. And I loved that. And I thought it was great. So there's that. There's also the Krampus movie that has... is it Adam Scott, the guy from Step
Oh, is he
Brothers?
in that?
Yes,
I didn't
he's
know
the
that.
star of it.
That's a Legendary Pictures
Also,
film, too.
the other dudes, Legendary,
It is.
but the other dude he's also in Step Brothers. Rob something. He's that big.
Rickles.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that dude. He's in it. Krampus as well.
Does
And
he play
it is
Krampus?
no. He's
Okay.
he's one of the dudes being attacked.
Is he
by
serious? Because
No,
I don't know if I've
he's a
ever seen
comedian.
serious. Okay.
He's himself.
Can you handle you can overdose on Ron Rickles? Do you overdose on him in this?
No,
one?
you
Okay,
probably
there
don't
you go.
get enough of him.
Oh, there you go.
yeah,
Even better.
yeah.
Even better.
But yeah, there's this really good mix of like a Jurassic Park or the one again that J.J. Abrams did where we never see the monster because you never really quite see Krampus the way that you would expect. It's more of this like lurking creature that like we're under the car, we see the hooves and I love stuff that does stuff like that. Eventually, of course, we see Krampus and it's a big giant CG mess, right? But yeah, I like that movie too. And then when I was a kid, I'll give you there was that like Jack Frost movie.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, I love that stuff. I don't know why I loved those weird movies as a kid.
That was
but I love
early
that.
bad CG too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's more like stop motion or something. It's that bad. But what about you, Shane? What about Horror Christmas?
You know, I'll say a couple. I'm going to have to say one, that Black Christmas, the 80s one. I think it was actually 74, if I remember correctly.
So it was in the 70s?
So it was
wow.
early
So it
film.
was really
Margot
early.
Kidder. And not only was it really good, but there's the voice on the phone. I don't know if they have that in the original.
in the sequel?
in the remake, the sequel or
The
whatever.
voice on the phone?
Yeah, they keep calling them.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And that's probably the creepiest part.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
of the stuff, I mean, that's still like the rest of the movies, like, yeah, this is cool, but that stuff still scares me today. And then the other one, I'm going to have to go old school again, Gremlins. That's such a
God.
great Christmas and horror movie, and it's
hard.
fun. And
Yeah. Gremlins is a classic.
Yeah, it
man.
is.
Like
It is a
it's a
classic.
real classic, and sometimes I forget that. It is a Christmas movie. I mean, it really is. It's not like Die Hard. There's no
what? How is that more? It's more about family and togetherness than Die Hard is.
Yeah, for sure, man. The Gremlins just want to live.
What? That's not a Christmas. Whatever. Die Hard hater.
Die Hard hater. Whatever, man. Gremlins would take what's his name?
John McClane.
John
probably.
McClane all day.
You're right.
and Gruber, both of them. But yeah, that's a good one. Gremlins. That is probably the most like iconic horror Christmas
I would think
thing,
so.
right?
Yeah, that's the first one that popped in my head.
But there has been a couple too that I can't quite remember that came out in the past few years that have been kind of. I don't know what it is, but I really, and Shane, you know this because we made a movie like this, but I really love Christmas and horror for some reason. I think those
They go
things
together well.
go together very well, especially the lights, how well blood looks on white snow and all of that stuff.
Well, there's a lot of juxtapositioning, which is always fun because, not only do you have the happiness and the death, but
Right.
even like music. You get some jolly Christmas music during a death scene. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, you could do so much with it. But yeah, what else
Do you
we got?
consider Grinch a horror movie?
No, but
Yeah.
they do have one coming out, and it looks great, Shane. I know you haven't probably seen this at all, but what is that they call him? The Mean One? Is that what they call him?
Oh, yeah,
You're
You're
a
a
Mean
Mean
One.
One.
Right. So I think it's called The Mean One is what
Okay.
the name of the movie is, and it is kind of a dark, like he's, like Freddy Krueger basically for Christmas,
That's pretty cool.
And it looks kind of cool. It looks well made. Unlike the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey trailer we watched. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was made by some dudes that we hired. This still looks really well done. Like the makeup looks really good and stuff, and it's not just some dude in a mask and stuff. So yeah, I guess we could end up with a horror kind of version of the Grinch.
I could see that. Absolutely.
I know people love that Jim Carrey version of the Grinch movie, but I think that's
Do they?
a horror, right?
That's what I was
It's
wondering.
a horror for me to watch when I remember trying to watch. I love Jim Carrey more than probably anyone I know. And God, that movie is just so freaking so bad. But I'll watch it. I love it.
What about Nightmare Before Christmas? Do you consider that horror?
I do because of the way it made me feel all the time when
Especially
I was
as a kid. It's horrific.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Do you consider Edward Scissorhands a Christmas movie?
Why would it be a Christmas movie?
Because he makes it snow at the end, and every winter,
if that's a Christmas movie, The Shining's a Christmas movie.
And every winter he brings the snow. It's about love and.
What about The Lighthouse? Christmas happens while they're. Right, Christmas happens while they're stranded on the island. They don't celebrate.
I think I consider Edward Scissorhands if people watch it during Christmas, I would understand why.
Sure. I mean, I think a movie has to have more than just Christmas in it. Like it has to be the overall theme has to be Christmas.
I think there's a lot of Christmassy together.
There's a lot of that
Edward.
in Harry Potter too.
Okay,
but I wouldn't call it a Christmas. But I get it. I get when people tell me like, "Oh, Harry Potter's a Christmas." I get that.
I think that one's acceptable, and I'm not a Harry Potter fan because it came out during Christmas. I think.
Yes.
So you have that
Christmas
experience.
There's an actual scene of 20 minutes of Christmas.
That's also why sometimes we watch Step Brothers during Christmas because there's a scene that takes place during
Step
Christmas.
Brothers is any holiday movie.
Right.
I mean, it's
and it's about family and togetherness. I think that's a Christmas movie.
Right. What else do we got?
That's it on the questions. Unless something was just added, let me do another peek here. Does Child's Play count? That takes place with Christmas, Child's Play.
Yeah, in fact, the newer one, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to check it out.
The TV show?
No. The new movie. I think it was it called? Yeah, I think it was called Child's Play. But yeah, he's no longer Charles Lee Ray. It's basically a doll that is AI that like the AI goes bad on it, and that's what makes him into Chucky. But it happens at Christmas, snow. There's a scene where like a dude's putting up Christmas lights and Chucky implements.
There you go. You got to call that a Christmas movie, right?
So yeah, I guess you could consider that new one specifically for sure a Christmas horror movie, right? Yeah, but we did get a super chat too. We have another super chat.
I think Matt Noya said, "Am I really gonna get this? Are you really gonna let me take this Xbox?"
Yeah, I think you are.
He's the only one super chatting.
You're the only one that's sending super chat. This is your second one. Shane's got the tickets over there. You got a pen over there?
I don't have a pen.
There's not a pen over there?
No pen. I was looking for one.
Wow, that rat bastard Lucas.
Lucas take it.
Ran off with our pen. So, we'll get you written down, and we'll get you in the Doctor Strange bucket. And it's just you in there, man. So, there's no.
We could staple them together.
There you go. That's you. You hear you? ASMR it. That's you. But yeah, so we'll throw you in there. Thank you for the super chat. And yeah, it looks like you are going to take the Xbox. We still got to hit that 20K sub mark. So make sure you're botting the account, Matt. No, I'm joking. But yeah, that's it, guys. That's everything. It's been another fun show. Lots of topics, lots to talk about. Like I said, I'm going to Glass Onion a little bit later. So I will give you my out of theater review on that. And we will see you back. I will see you back here. We won't see Shane again until Wednesday, right, Shane?
I won't be able to make it Wednesday. What about Thursday?
Okay, Thursday.
Let's do Thursday.
So we won't see Shane again until Thursday and possibly Friday. But Friday. I've been joined by Shane Wallace today. Shane, where can people find you at?
At Planet Wallace. And
I'm
so active there.
Yes, make sure you go subscribe. He's really trying to get his follower count up. Shane's one of those dudes that's just obsessed with followers.
I'm constantly checking. Like,
right.
Did I get
all the
one?
time? I have to get onto him like during the show. I'm like, dude, come on.
It's like I refreshed this. Why didn't my number go up? I just dropped the info.
But yeah, and you guys know where to follow me. Right there is my handle at Keaton Toothman on Twitter. Make sure you guys go follow me there. Make sure you guys thumbs up this video. I see 4 or 5 of you in here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, notification bell, all of those things so you can know when we're going live again. I will be back here tomorrow. Maybe we get Trevor or Lucas or someone in the studio. If not, I will be flying solo tomorrow. But I will be back here tomorrow, and I will see you guys then.